Breaking news into SportsCenter in the NBA. Adrian Wojnarowski reporting moments ago Steve Clifford has agreed to a deal to return as the head coach of the Charlotte Hornets. Now, earlier this month, Kenny Atkinson changed course and decided to return to the Warriors bench as an assistant after initially taking the Hornets job. Woj himself joining us now with much more. What can you tell us and share with us about this reunion here between Clifford and the Hornets?
Yeah, Kevin, it's a pretty neat story. I mean, Steve Clifford was the last coach to get the Hornets into the playoffs, went twice in his 5 years in Charlotte. You know, he was let go after the 2018 season, went on to Orlando where he got them to the playoffs 2 out of 3 years. But he kept a really good relationship with Michael Jordan, who always had great respect for Steve Clifford. And listen, he really fit exactly what this young team needed. A coach who's going to come in, get them much better defensively, and develop, a toughness and a continued professionalism with a young team and get them into the postseason. Mitch Kupchak, the GM in Charlotte, he was the one who dismissed Steve Clifford when he took over as GM. He kept the lease on Steve Clifford's apartment. They went out for dinner a couple dates after it. He's a very popular figure in that town. And you talk to coaches around the NBA, Kevin, he's really extremely respected among his peers, tough to prepare against, and a coach that people always believe gets the most out of his teams. You mentioned defense. Last night, Charlotte adding Mark Williams, the big man out of Duke. Let's continue that storyline because you and I were both working the draft last night. And by the way, another Duke player was kind of surprised. That is Paolo Banchero, and the Magic called his name. He said he found out 20 seconds before the announcement that he was going number 1, the star freshman, becoming the 4th player from Duke to be selected first overall in the modern draft era, which dates back to 1966. Sixers, by the way, acquiring the Grizzlies guard DeAnthony Melton in a deal that sent Danny Green and the 23rd pick to Memphis. Melton averaged nearly 11 points over 73 games last season for the Grizzlies. And the Knicks, they sent guard Kemba Walker to the Pistons, who plan to discuss a buyout there with the veteran. Walker was set to make $9 million in his final year with the Knicks. Stephen A. Smith went through the Knicks experience in real time last night on ABC, and then he was still livid this morning on First Take.
I'm just trying to figure out what is it that I've done. What is it that I've done? What is it that Knicks fans have done to deserve this? I mean, we're loyal. We stick with our team. You have robbed fans of a reason to be joyous, the reason to be hopeful for the better part of the last 21 years. That's what you did. I'm telling you right here, right now, I'm not going to the Garden next year. I won't go one game there. I won't go one game. I'm so disgusted with them. They're not doing this to me anymore. I'm sick and tired of this nonsense.
The buzz last night and this morning prompted Knicks president Leon Rose to release a statement that reads in part, "Last night we made 3 trades involving draft picks, which resulted in an increased financial flexibility and additional draft capital moving forward. We now have a total of 22 picks over the next 7 years. We have the ability to be active in free agency as well as in the trade market." Woj, what are you hearing about the Knicks' plans for the future with this extra cap space they have available here?
And Kevin, the Knicks still need to get off, perhaps another $8 to $10 million in cap space for their pursuit of Jalen Brunson, the free agent point guard in Dallas. And listen, this has been their target, and I think there's a level of confidence that if they can get the cap space, they've got an ability to lure him away. His relationships with the Knicks, they're strong. Leon Rose was his former agent when Leon Rose was on the other side, and Rick Brunson, his father, is a new assistant coach with New York. And so, that's their goal right now. I think you're going to see, some more deals with the Knicks getting off salary. And then the hope here in the short term is to solidify that point guard position with Jalen Brunson.
Okay, and reminding everybody here, free agency starts on July 1st. And, of course, Woj and Bobby Marks will have you covered here in the studio the entire week. Woj, thank you.
Great. I'll see you then, Kevin.
Welcome to the 2022 NBA Draft, the next generation of stars in our league. Where will they land? With the first pick, Paolo Banchero.
I can't believe what just happened.
The Oklahoma City Thunder select Chet Holmgren. With the third pick, Jabari Smith Jr.
Let it out, young fellas. This is about the journey.
I'm just so happy.
The lights don't get much brighter than this. I didn't want to stop until I was walking across that stage.
You know, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do what I do.
I'm ready.
Here's Jalen Rose. I'm David Jacoby. We are Jalen and Jacoby. What is it that we do? And get the people what they want. Jalen Rose. The Detroit Pistons won the draft. The Detroit Pistons won the draft. Not only did Jaden Ivey fall to 5, something no one expected, but then Jalen Duren, a Jalen in Detroit. This is a very significant advancement for your franchise.
Absolutely. And remember, like, my father was the #1 pick of the Pistons in 1967. And though I never met him, my mother nurtured me into basketball. That was her favorite team. It was our favorite sport. And that's something that we bonded over. And I can't ignore sitting at the draft as somebody that's really fortunate in a lot of ways to be synonymous with the draft. What I chose to wear in 1994, love it or hate it, is always going to be discussed. The name Jalen, you just can't ignore it. I can't ignore it. And for him to be the number 13 pick, which I was also. And so there were so many things that was going through my mind as like an NBA life for a long-time Detroiter. As you know, I'm really good friends with the owner, Tom Gores. They're supporters of JRLA. I'm a diehard Detroiter, unlike you, who could be die easy. And we've had some tough times. But as a franchise, we've had some awesome times. And working the draft last year was a pivot point. The general manager, Trey Weaver's doing an amazing job. And the pivot point, there were two. One, we kept Dwayne Casey. The second thing we did was draft Cade Cunningham. And then when you now see that he can become a franchise player that you can trust on and off the floor, now you can look at the chessboard and say, let's build around him.
Yes.
Okay? And you and I talked a lot about this. Sadiq Bey had a 50-point game last year for the Detroit Pistons. We added Marvin Bagley up front. But what is it going to make the game easier for Cade is what you got to be thinking about.
Talk to me.
Get somebody that's a scorer. Get somebody that's a blur. Get somebody that has terrific athleticism. And somebody that's going to be his longtime running mate.
Who's that?
Jaden Ivey.
What an absolute steal.
And see, Jacoby, as you know, it's a tall man's game. And this is probably like the 4th or 5th time, like 3 guys, 6'10" or 11, went 1, 2, and 3 in the draft. But I like to look deeper in the box score. And those guards that can do what he does, when he grows into his body and he really understands that he can be a game changer defensively, like, he's going to be able to score the ball. He's going to be able to create for others. He's going to have a terrific motor. And having those guys now put you in position to be like a young upstart team on the rise. So I'm really proud for the city, and I'm really proud of our patients. See, we doing this show in New York. And our brother Stephen A. Smith, he's upset about his Knicks.
We're going to talk about the Knicks in a second.
Right, correct. But the point I'm trying to make is there's something in Detroit. We understand we got to build it, then they'll come.
Can I explain?
Not the other way around.
You know something that's amazing about Jaden Ivey in this fit? Didn't work out with Sacramento.
Well, here's the other thing about that. You don't work out with but by the way, I mean, Paolo didn't work out for the Magic.
No.
So, like, if I'm a team, I ain't drafting you if I don't look at you, if I don't meet with you, if you don't come into the building.
You don't want to get on a plane.
I'm not going to draft you. And so for Ivy, though, it worked out well because you can't really have him in Fox. Like, you want him to become a Fox-like player. You know what I mean? But more size and more athleticism and things of that nature. But De'Aaron Fox, if you remember, he's a blur. I mean, he's an awesome athlete too. And so for us to get that caliber player, like, I'm really excited for Detroit basketball.
This seems a perfect compliment for Cade. It could not have gone better for the Pistons. And Jaden Ivey, let's just say he got a little emotional when he was drafted.
Oh, man. This is everything, man. I work day in and day out to just get to this level. And, you know I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her. And I'm just so happy. I'm just so happy.
The Detroit Pistons' first round was not over. At 13, Jalen Duren, in a trade, ends up with the Pistons. So now they traded Grant. We all thought maybe that would mean Keegan Murray would be at 5. What does it mean that they've added Duren?
Do you like, I'm a veteran television personality, quasi-producer, and I never mentioned his name until right now? You like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love you too, brother.
Great job by you.
Hey, check this out, man. Physically gifted, powerful, rebounder, shot blocker, toughness.
Yes.
Now, I always talk about building a team that's the character of the city that you play. Pittsburgh Steelers do a terrific job of this. Miami Heat with their culture, they do an amazing job of that. The reason why I just use those two parallels is because if you switch Eric Spoelstra and Mike Tomlin, it seems like they could coach each other's teams. Like that's something called an identity. And when you look back at the history of the Detroit Pistons, when we were at our best, what were we? The bad boys.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. People talk about our physicality, but we were an offensive juggernaut too. Remember, we were a part of the highest scoring game versus the Nuggets in the history of the league, and they only made 1 to 2, 3 3-pointers, whatever. So you got Isaiah and Joe, but they locked down on D, toughness up front. Robin, Sally, Mahorn, right? Bill Laimbeer. And then you graduate. Rasheed Wallace, Ben Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, along with Rip and Chauncey. Toughness, identity, building a core. And so when I sit back and I start watching other teams around the league, I look to see if they're trying to build a team to have an identity. See, I love the players that we got, but I like that we're building identity. That's different. So now when I'm feet on the wood, you got to come check me out. I'm trying to tell you, we're going to be in the playoffs.
We'll see about that. Let's just get to training camp first before we start getting into the playoffs. But I like Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren as a front court. And then you've got Ivy,
Bagley,
Cade in the back court. It's so exciting in Detroit. However, let's talk about the number 1 pick. As you mentioned earlier, Paolo Banchero didn't even work out for the Magic. And everyone thought they were going to take Jabari Smith. But it was Paolo who went number 1. How do you like that fit with this young core they have?
Well, like him not working out with the team reminds me of like how when you're actually covering the draft, you're there to celebrate whoever gets picked, not question the people that picked the person that didn't even work out for them. But as I looked at the top 3, you know what I was really happy about? It seems like each one of those young men landed at the right spot at the right time. Like he's going to be great for Jamal Mosley, their head coach too. See, he has a level of maturity. He's charismatic. He can pass the ball. And they've had lottery picks. They just haven't had all-star, all-NBA versions of their lottery picks. So now when you take the number 1 overall pick, you hope that you're trying to grab the surest thing, right? That goes with what you already have. Franz Wagner, Suggs. You want those players to continue to grow and mature. And so I like this for him. I like this for them. And as a number 1 pick, to be honest with you, like the pressure ain't gonna be like as magnified being with Orlando at this point of his career, because we're not expecting him to be Shaq. We're not expecting him to be Dwight Howard. We're expecting them to continue to build with what they have and see what they got. So I like him for them. Mid-range scorer, can turn over both shoulders, strong body. You playing in the Eastern Conference, there are a lot of guys you're going to try to have to muscle around. So I like what they're trying to do as well.
Perplexing evening for Knicks fans. They have the 11th pick. Ousmane Dieng gets picked there. But wait, there's a trade. Oh, wait, does that mean they're going to have the 12th pick? Oh, wait, what's the trade? What exactly is trade? It took a long time to sort of figure out what happened. But what ended up happening is they cleared space to bring in a free agent, and they've got future first-round picks. Does this mean Jalen Brunson is going to be a New York Knick?
Rest in peace, the Queen, Jeannie Cassandra Rose, as we talk about Brunson. And the one thing I'll say for the Knicks is your draft pick last night wasn't going to get you your goals tomorrow. Like what you're trying to do with your Knickerbockers, Daisy fan, and what I'm trying to do with my Pistons, lifelong fan, is vastly different. Like we're trying to build it so they come. New York usually want to hit it and run. Get rich quick.
Yep.
And there has to be a level of patience that you're exercising in order to create an identity. And for me and Scott Perry, that's my brother right there on the left. So that's my brother, Detroit native. And I know he's been a holdover a couple of times with the Knicks because he is a basketball genius. This to me sets up for Jalen Brunson to be a Knick.
That's what it feels like.
And his ascension last year is what you can owe to this. Like when you went into last year, he was like Luka's backup, one of the better backups in the league.
Yep.
He was named amongst those guys. And then all of a sudden he took a leap. And so not only with salary, but opportunity, it's like, I could be a starting point guard now. I can be the lead guard. And so if you have the opportunity and you're him to do that with the Knicks, and my brother Rick, who I played with in Chicago, works for the team.
Just so happens that Rick Brunson works for the team.
So I'm kind of like, maybe I should stop speaking. You know what I'm saying? He only named his son after me.
Well, I like the
family.
Brunson Barrett backcourt. I think that could work. Obviously, they need to add some pieces to be successful and make some tweaks, but it was a strange night. But at the end of it, when the dust settles, you understand what they're doing. They're bringing in Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, pretty much. But don't underestimate Quickly, too. I like him a lot.
I like him a lot as well.
And the one thing about Tibbs, this has to be a bounce back year for Julius Randle.